She noticed this, what she thought was an ulcer on her tongue, and it didn't go away. She went to the doctors, had been to the dentists, and sort of mentioned it. Went back to university in October to do her second year, and went to the medical centre on the campsite. And they referred her then to Loughborough Hospital, and that's when she first had her biopsy in the January of the following year. And then she was actually diagnosed. We were actually told the diagnosis in the February. She went into hospital and had an operation. They took part of her tongue away and thought that was going to be it. But she was referred again to say it wasn't all clear when it was tested. So then she had to go into Leicester, which entailed an 8-hour operation of having her tongue removed. It was reconstructed with a flap from her arm. She had a tracheotomy for various drains and different things, but came home from that, had some lymph glands removed. It was then a case of going home and recovery, speech, and she'd had a peg, so it was learning to eat, learning to speak again. Even though I didn't think it bothered her and she seemed to be okay with it, it did make a big impact on her life. And what she found particularly difficult was how she woke up, and she'd gone into surgery as a normal 19-year-old young lady, and she came back with tubes and all sorts. And the biggest thing that really upset her was the tracheotomy. And not only had she sort of been disfigured, she'd all felt as if she'd lost her own voice, and she found that particularly difficult. It changed her, and she was always going to carry that stigma of the cancer. She could see her scar first thing in the morning, and it was a constant reminder to her. The second time she had it, when she had the bone, when it came back in her bones and her lungs, that's when she had again another operation on her back. She had a vertebrae removed and a plate put in. She had a rib removed, and then she had radiotherapy, and then she had the chemo, a very intensive form of chemo. So the second time she had it, this treatment and that was a lot more intense, a lot more debilitating, if you like. The first one was very quick. It was in operation and a recovery, really. To be honest, I was in a state of shock both times. I think the first time when she was initially diagnosed, it's just unbelievable. And you don't know how you're going to cope. You don't think you can cope, but you have to. You hear people who have cancer and they say how strong they are and all. There's no other choice. There's no other choice. It's sink or swim. The cancer takes over your life, but it gives you a format. So you just do that and you haven't got too much time to think. It was twofold, really. Because she was so strong, it made you strong. You couldn't do anything but be strong because she was coping. Probably the worst thing is seeing your child having all these things done to them and not knowing what to do, not knowing what to say, and just trying to be there as much as you can for them. At the same time, your heart's just breaking. You know, you have your moments where you think, I cannot do this anymore. Many times I've said, I can't do this anymore. But you have to get up and you have to go again, which is why this, to me, is carrying on from it being supportive to Claire. It gives you a purpose. You don't want... If you can save one person, if you can get somebody to go to the dentist, the doctors or whatever, or mention it, as you say, what you're doing, mention it to the receptionist or mention it to the doctor. Oh, I've got something here. Is it worth mentioning? Yes, it's worth mentioning. You know, and that's what keeps us going, is trying to keep Claire's legacy. She would have gone out there and done a far better job than me. But that's what we have to do. When she was first diagnosed, she didn't know what mouth cancer was. None of us knew what mouth cancer was. She never ever smoked. I mean, she was 19, she was at uni, she had a drink, but it wasn't, you wouldn't call it drinking to any extent. And she wasn't promiscuous or anything like that. So, you know, even after we had the initial shock of it being a mouth cancer, you couldn't relate it to anything. You know, you couldn't relate to it, well, it's because she's done that or because she's done that sort of thing. Well, I just think it's such it just doesn't seem to be out there, this mouth cancer. I mean, even with the smoking, you know, it's all about your lung cancer and your drinking with your liver. There still isn't a mention that you can get a mouth cancer. This is something that really quite upset me at the time, that she actually had dentist appointments and actually mentioned this ulcer. And that's an opportunity that it could have been picked up. You know, you go and have your eyes done, and they can look for, and we all know that they look for diabetes and all that sort of thing. It's an opportunity for them to pick something up that somebody doesn't even know they've got. And even up to now, I can still have conversations with people and say, are you aware? Are they telling you that they are looking for a mouth cancer? A lot of people don't even know that's perhaps what the dentists are doing, or that it's there. And it just seems, for the sake of a conversation, that people could be diagnosed so much earlier.